In 1988, Oprah Winfrey posed a significant question to 42-year-old Donald Trump, whether he would ever consider running for president. Trump's response during that time is a notable piece of history.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
What do you think of this year's presidential race, the way it's shaping up?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I think that probably George Bush has an advantage in terms of the election. I think that probably people would say that he's got like that little edge in terms of the incumbency, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Jesse Jackson's done himself very proud. I think Michael Dukakis has done one hell of a job. And George Bush has done a hell of a job. You know, they all went in there sort of as semi-underdogs, including George Bush, and they've all come out. I think people that are around all three of those candidates can be very proud of the jobs they've done.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
It's evident that Donald Trump has maintained his consistent beliefs since as far back as 1988 through 2016 and even today. During those early years, the media generally loved Donald Trump. However, as soon as he aligned with the Republican Party in the 2010s, the media's perception of him drastically shifted. They began to falsely accuse Trump of constantly changing his positions, flip-flopping, and being inconsistent. But in reality, Trump has remained steadfast in his views, unlike some other individuals. To illustrate this point, I want you to watch this clip of Joe Biden showcasing his stance on immigration. This serves as a stark contrast to Trump's consistency over the years.
Let me talk to something unsavory now, the issue of immigration. Yeah. Is there a Democratic Party position which accommodates the need to stop illegal entry, punish people who hire people at cheap wages illegally, and also gives hope to people who live here illegally and people who want to come here right now? Is there a possible combination that hits all those points?
I think there is. And I think that the McCain-Kennedy bill, Kennedy-McCain, the Specter bill that came out does it. If you take a look, Chris, at what Frist is talking about, only enforcement. The enforcement provisions that sit inside the Specter bill, the McCain or the Kennedy-McCain bill, there ain't a dime's worth of difference to them. They're the same amount of money, 12,000 new border agents.
You think they work?
I think they will work better if they actually, in fact, do it.
Can you scare an employer in this country, whether he's an agricultural worker or a housewife, into not hiring an illegal because the punishment's so high that if you get caught,
yes,
it's a huge embarrassment to your family, and you may just get hit with a fine that'll kill you?
Yeah, absolutely, you can do that. And that's what we should do. Well, I think we should do that.
Because you can't catch everybody.
You can't. You can't. And the last part of this is that the Democratic position also recognizes you got 11 million illegal aliens here. They have to have a way to earn their way into the deal. This is an amnesty. They're required to take 11 years' worth. They pay a fine. They got to learn to speak English. They got to pass tests.
I like the English part.
Yeah.
I like the English part.
By the way,
if we want the problems of Canada right now, to keep encouraging people to keep their foreign language, English is going to unite this country potentially. It always has in the past.
I can't think of a country that has two languages as their accepted languages that is doing all that well, including Switzerland and or Canada.
It divides us.
Yeah.
You can't talk to each other. Anyway, thank you, Senator Joe Biden. We've solved it. You've done it.
Joe Biden may have expressed a particular stance on immigration in the past. It appears that he has since become inconsistent and has flip-flopped on this issue. His current views on immigration seem to contradict his previous statements, causing confusion and uncertainty about his position. This inconsistency raises concerns about his reliability and trustworthiness.
You use the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is growing. We have to control the border and more orderly flow, but I don't share his view at all.
So you regret using that word?
Yeah.
Now, comparing Donald Trump's views from the past to his current stance is essential for understanding his consistency.
In Europe now, they're taking advantage of us at a level that nobody's ever seen. As an example, in Ukraine, so we're in for 150 billion. Now, you know that it's much more important for Europe than us, but we want to see people live, etc. But we're in for 150 billion and Europe's in for 17 billion. If you add Europe up, if you add all the various countries, they're approximately the same size economy. So I say, why aren't they in for the same number or more? I mean, in theory and more. So they should equalize. They should come up and they should equalize. They've got plenty, but I don't think anybody from the Biden administration's ever is. If you ask them, if I said to them, listen, we're in for 100 billion more than you. You have to put up the next 100 billion. We have to equalize. Otherwise, we're not going to do it. They'll put up the money, but nobody ever asks them. Same thing with NATO. We were way over our heads in NATO. Many of the countries weren't paying. They were delinquent. Only 8 of the 28 countries were current. We were way current. We were paying 3-4 times what we were supposed to. We were carrying it. And when I went in, I looked and I said, you're going to have to all pay or we're not going to protect you any longer. And I remember the head of a country stood up and said, does that mean that if Russia attacks my country, you will not be there? That's right. That's what it means. I will not protect you. And the money came. The money came pouring in.
In general, Donald Trump has been known for his outspoken nature and firm stances on various issues, including immigration, trade, and national security. Throughout his political career, he has emphasized themes such as America First, border security, economic nationalism, and skepticism towards international agreements and organizations. It's indeed noteworthy that Donald Trump has maintained consistency in his messaging over several decades, going as far back as the 1980s. Despite the accusations of being a phony or changing his positions, a thorough examination of his past interviews reveals a remarkable level of consistency in his beliefs and viewpoints. Regardless of one's stance on Trump's consistency, it's clear that his unwavering messaging has left a significant impact on his supporters and critics alike. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, so be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Your support really helps the channel grow, and it's immensely appreciated. Thanks for watching.